If you're not using Grok every day, you are doing it wrong. And I really mean that. The uptick in productivity, information access that a gigantic, ultra big brain AI assistant like Super Grok Heavy can add to your life is absolutely worth the investment. And on that note, I've asked Grok to crawl the interwebs and create a complete, comprehensive list of every single note published by an analyst discussing Tesla since the Robotaxi fleet first launched in Austin, Texas, specifically discussing Tesla Robotaxi, because I'm still yet to find one note from one analyst focusing on the profound implications of the launch in Austin in late June. Vision only, apparently it works. Then the rapid expansion in June in the shape of a dick just for the lols. Then the launch in the Bay Area and another expansion in Austin in the span of about 6 weeks, from not existing to launch, expand, launch somewhere else and expand again. Grok explains, based on a comprehensive search across web sources, financial news and X posts, there appear to be relatively few formal analyst notes specifically focused on Tesla's Robotaxi and autonomy developments since the late June 2025 launch. I also asked Grok, is this because analysts are retarded? Of course, you'll have to ask Grok yourself to find out what Grok thinks. The good news that Grok did come up with a relatively short list, although most of these supposed notes aren't too specifically relating to autonomy, but we're going to read through everything that has been said about Tesla Robotaxi by analysts since Tesla Robotaxi launched in Austin. Then we saw the massive rapid expansion, the launch in another state, and another expansion in Austin. This from Reuters, just keep in mind, this is Australian adjusted dates. This was essentially when the Robotaxi service had just launched in Austin. The headline, Tesla Robotaxi launch, why getting from dozens to millions of self-driving cars won't be easy. And by the way, that's a fair statement, but it'll certainly be a lot easier than going from 0 self-driving cars to 1. But actually, think about it. The hard part was going from 0 to 1. Sounds like a good title for a book. Maybe someone should write a book with that title. Oh wait, someone already has. So the article, Tesla finally has a Robotaxi. Now comes the hard part. The electric vehicle maker deployed its first ever driverless cabs in Austin, Texas on Sunday in a small-scale test of carefully monitored Model Y vehicles. Next, the company faces the steep challenge of executing on CEO Elon Musk's ambition to refine the software and upload it to millions of Teslas within a year or so. Such a rapid expansion will prove extremely difficult. About a dozen industry analysts and autonomous vehicle technology experts, oh no, there's that pejorative term expert, look out, told Reuters. These observers expressed a range of views about Tesla's prospects, but all cautioned against assuming a light-speed Robotaxi rollout. Okay, and we have our first quote from an analyst here. Quote, a rollout could be really quick if the software works. Tesla Robotaxi could drive any road in the world, said Seth Goldstein, a Morningstar senior equity analyst, while cautioning that Tesla is still, quote, testing the product. So, reasonable statement so far. This is obviously not a note, but an actual quote that was provided to Reuters for this article. Scrolling for more quotes from analysts. After all, no notes that I'm aware of, but at least we can scrounge up a few quotes in some articles. For years, Musk has said Tesla would soon operate its own autonomous ride-hailing service and also turn any Tesla, new or used, into a cash-generating Robotaxi for its customers. That will be, quote, orders of magnitude more difficult than testing in Austin. Uh-oh. Said a university professor who apparently added, quote, it's like announcing that I'm going to Mars and then, going to Cleveland. Thank you, Professor, for your input. I'm still looking for more quotes from analysts here. This is great, dude. We have another academic, imagine that, who says, look, how long has it taken Waymo? There's no reason to believe Tesla will be any faster. Well, we're off to a great start. Let's move on to the next. By the way, these are all in publication date, oldest to newest, as in the first article was immediately after the launch, and the last article we'll read will be the most recently published. This from CNBS. Headline, we checked our Tesla supervised invite-only Robotaxi launch. Here's what we saw. And again, we're just looking for some quotes from analysts here because I don't really care what CNBS said or saw. I'm trying to understand, has the penny even slightly started to drop among a single analyst on Wall Street? By the way, spoiler alert, the answer is no. There's no notes. But at least are they starting to think about this? So here's a quote from Dan Ives. Quote, I thought it was extremely smooth. Everything we saw, not just from a safety perspective, maneuverability was very impressive, blah, blah, blah. Cool story, bro. I thought going into it would be an 8 out of 10, but I think it's a 10 out of 10 relative to our experience. Okay, that's great. But again, I'm more interested in hearing people's thoughts from an investment point of view about the rollout of Robotaxi, not an individual ride or a couple of rides. Big difference here. Oh, here. This will be good. Quote, what Tesla put out this past Sunday is not a Robotaxi, said alleged analyst Gordon Johnson of GLJ Research in a note published on Thursday. It is a Robotaxi infant, that requires constant supervision to stop it from injuring itself or others. Scrolling further to look for some more quotes from analysts, if any. Maybe here's one. Oh no, not Edward of Tesla Q. Yeah, no, we're not going to read that one. That was it for the analyst quotes. Moved on to the next article, possibly almost a reprint of the exact same thing. Wedbush's Dan Ives tried the Tesla Robotaxi. Here's what he has to say. Quote, going into it, we expected to be impressed, but walking away from it. All we can say is that this is the future. According to analyst Dan Ives, Tesla's Robotaxis delivered what he described as a genuine self-driving experience despite the company's decision to keep an operator behind the wheel for now. In his note, Ives said that during each of his 15-minute rides in the autonomous vehicle, by the way, technically it was one of his staff riding, not Dan, the operator did not speak or intervene at any point, underscoring the system's ability to function independently throughout the trips. Here's a direct quote from the note. The ride itself was completely smooth, and it was indistinguishable that the car was driverless, as there was never a moment in the vehicle where we felt as if it did something irrational. Another quote. Overall, these robotaxis exceeded our expectations and offered a seamless and personalised travel experience that has lit the spark for autonomous driving. And that's it for the quotes. Next article. Over on the aptly named Yahoo Finance, where Gene Munster apparently calls progress, quote, ahead of schedule. Gene Munster said the announcements were ahead of what he had forecast. Quote, I would have expected the fleet to begin to expand in Austin in late July, with the addition of a new city in December, he added, noting the speed at which Tesla is moving. So let's check the date on this when it was published. July 11th, meaning since this was published, not only has Gene admitted that he was extremely bearish on the first Austin expansion, which happened much faster than he expected. By the way, we're now onto the second Austin expansion. But in addition, he also added at the time that they would have expected the first new city would be added in December. And context, the first new city, not just a city, but an entire handful of cities, the Bay Area, actually launched, give or take, call it a month-ish after Austin, roughly 6 times faster than Gene was expecting. I'm rounding a little bit here, but you get the point. Massively underestimated. So comments from the two serious analysts, we don't include the class clown for obvious reasons. Dan Ives says they were expecting an 8 out of 10, and it was a 10 out of 10, blew their expectations away. Gene Munster, in terms of timing, which is much more what I'm interested in, rollout timing, way faster than he expected for the first expansion. And since this quote was published, we've also now seen Tesla launch in the Bay Area, in California. So now they're operating in Texas and California dramatically faster than Munster expected. In other words, so far, these two data points suggest, at least anecdotally, that Tesla's robotaxis are better than people expected and scaling much, much faster as well. Imagine my shock. And here's another quote from Gene Munster. Over the next 6 months, the absolute number of vehicles and cities matters little. What matters most is the pace of expansion. And let's give this motherfucker a round of applause for hitting the nail on the fucking head. He's absolutely right. The rate of expansion is the most important data point. This is why I've been banging the drum on this. First, before the launch, these things are going to scale so fucking fast, you guys have no idea. Trust me, watch. And now that it is happening, I'm continuing to repeat this. Launch in Austin, next minute. About 3 weeks later, first expansion in Austin, in the shape of a dick, just for the lols. Then, a massive launch in the Bay Area, in California, a totally different state, and a massive, massive service area, end-to-end, off-peak, take you roughly an hour and a half to drive, end-to-end, huge. And then back to Austin for another expansion. Gene was correct, and rate of expansion, pace of expansion right now, is unbelievably rapid. So the question I have is, where the fuck are all the analyst notes pointing this out? The fact that the rate of expansion on Tesla's Robotaxi fleet is stunning. Much faster than expectations. There's a whole reason I'm digging this stuff up now. Where are the notes? The penny does not yet seem to have dropped. I mean, I've got to give credit to Gene Munster for at least pointing out what was actually important. But how many additional data points do we need before the first analyst has the fucking balls to put out a note going, holy shit, Robotaxi is expanding really quickly at the moment. Maybe it'll slow down. But if it doesn't, holy shit, big implications. I mean, I'm still waiting. What are they doing? Anyway, that was the last quote for Munster, specifically on robotaxis and the expansion. He did add that autonomy is more important than deliveries, which, by the way, is true. So we finally reached our first quote from an analyst that at least mentioned the importance of the rate of expansion. But this, of course, was before we had enough data points to discuss the rate of expansion. So let's move on to the next article. Tesla faces difficult road ahead as it hopes Robotaxi will offset declining sales. I'm looking for quotes from analysts. I can only find a crybaby or two at the moment, but they must be in here somewhere. Next article. Analysts warn Tesla must focus on sales. We love robotaxis, but we love growth too. So here's a quote from an analyst. Look, we love robotaxis and robots, said Canaccord Genuity analyst, but we love growth too, in the here and now. Yes, short term, short-sighted. We need the P&L dynamics to turn, the analyst added. Goldman Sachs, on the other hand, called Tesla's Robotaxi effort, quote, still small. All right, surely there's got to be more analyst quotes here. Let's go. Nope, that's the whole fucking article. Wow. Grok really was desperately scraping the bottom of the barrel to come up with enough articles with even a single word uttered about Tesla Robotaxi. Well, it turns out this was the last article that actually contained even a shred of a fraction of a quote from an analyst relating to Tesla's Robotaxis whatsoever. Grok did Grok's best, scraping the bottom of the barrel, and wasn't able to find much. Now, please, if anybody happens to have seen an actual note from an analyst discussing the truly impressive rate of expansion on Tesla's Robotaxi fleet, please hit me up in the DMs on X, but I won't hold my breath. So as we watch this clip of Tesla economics, the very first Tesla Robotaxi ride in the Bay Area in California, a very long trip, by the way, there's a very important question I will attempt to answer, which is, what is the definition of a turkey slap? Now, why would I want to know what the definition of a turkey slap is? Well, I remember some guy with 3 first names repeatedly saying in the past, going back a number of years, that his strong hunch was that analysts would need to be turkey slapped across the face with numbers relating to Tesla autonomy, their Robotaxi rollout, specifically revenue, before they were able to locate their testicles and actually model any of the future implications. Clearly, as I record this, approaching mid-August 2025, a launch in Austin, 2 expansions in Austin, and a launch in the Bay Area are not yet a sufficient enough amount of data to be considered a turkey slap. Rather than predicting ahead of time that Tesla would rapidly expand their fleet of robotaxis, analysts still appear to be waiting on the sidelines, hoping and praying that at some point soon in a quarterly earnings report, Tesla will in fact specifically report the amount of revenue associated with their robotaxi business, at which point that will be considered the turkey slap moment. Because right now, as it stands, 0 notes from analysts discussing the profound implications of Tesla's rapid robotaxi expansion. The key here, Tesla has developed a generalized solution to autonomy, meaning their vehicles know how to drive. Period. We're seeing this now. You have to be an absolute potato not to recognize the pace of expansion is ridiculous, and it is proving out the fact that Tesla does in fact have a generalized solution to autonomy. So the question, where are the fucking notes? It seems neither the penny nor the analyst balls have dropped. Seriously though, what the fuck are the analysts doing? What are they thinking? How many more data points do they need? How many more cities does Tesla need to be launching robotaxis in? How many more videos do we need to see of people taking a ride in Tesla robotaxis, whether somebody's sitting in the passenger seat or the quote-unquote driver's seat doing literally nothing? How much more evidence do we need to see that Tesla has solved autonomy, did what they said they were going to do, and that the limiting factor really is going to be their ability to mass produce their cybercaps and reach ridiculous scale? Wake up, guys. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, it has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.